All right, so I haven't done a TUR tier list in a minute, and since we're at the beginning of March, the 10th anniversary part 3 is wrapping up. Whilst I do think that like an EX part could give us more TUR EZAs or super EZAs, I just want to go ahead and just have this done now. And to be honest, I haven't been able to sit down and get some of these other recordings done. Probably will be streaming later tonight or something like that. We'll see, but either way, I wanted to go ahead and get this done because I've had some people talk about and ask about, oh, what do I think the TURs are like now? I think there are some different spots for a lot of these TURs now that we have, Battle Hardened Formidable Foes final stages, Red Zone final stages, and just my overall thoughts on how these characters, look like in game. Now, again, I will be doing a top 10 list here just as normal, but then at the end, we're going to be taking a look at them in actual tiers. One list for Red Zone performance and one list for Battle Hardened Formidable Foes performance. To be honest, those lists at the end are probably just more important in general than just the top 10, but people watch for the top 10, so I guess I'll give y'all what you want. But let's hop right into things at number 10, which again, I would say number 10 is a spot that can realistically be shifted around quite a bit, right? I think, like spots 9, 10, 8, right? A lot in those categories. You could definitely get a lot of other characters in here, but I do have Agio Super Vegito. I just like this guy's general reliability. Now, again, as always, he gets targeted with a super attack. If he's above 50% HP, he's toast, right? I think that's just a thing that's going to happen. But with the abundance of scouter abilities available now on these teams, even in short form content, I find that you're able to get this, like, not consistently, but you're able to get this off at a somewhat decent rate to where, okay, well, you also give him the scouter himself and he is able to actually tank, or I want to say tank, he's able to actually live super attacks with this ability up. He's providing support abilities right now. I guess the only thing is that this obviously does hurt because most of the fights right now are super class enemies compared to the full buff he gets when facing extreme class enemies. There are still some difficult extreme class bosses in the game right now with the battle hardened foes. And overall, this guy is just doing good for himself. I think, he's a nice little unit you could throw as a floater option, supporting, doing decent damage himself, right? Obviously on turns with Tech Super Vegito, I think that really does help this guy a little. The fact that, in my opinion, the best unit of the game is still that Tech LR Super Vegito. Once he's fused, you have this guy out, perfect linking partner, essentially providing him the 35% attack here. And even with his own counters outside of those turns, this guy is able to do his own, decent damage himself. So I like this character maybe more than other people do. I think he does deserve 10. Again, there are other options you could throw on here. And I do want to bring up this guy, Tech Maj Vegeta. I actually don't have him on the list, but he's a character that I hated on that I think is in a much better spot now, because I think these fights actually have so much HP to the point you could so much HP, there's a lot of phases. You're able to get his transformation condition, I think, a lot easier than before. And, unlike Super Saiyan 3 Goku's reliant on dodge, the Angel one anyways, this guy has the guard and 60% damage reduction, or even 66%, I believe. Post super attack, this guy's not taking anything. He's a rainbow orb changer. This like Majin Vegeta, I considered having him at 10 on this list. I just think when we also consider short form fights, which I'm considering, let's say Red Zone is like 60% and then Battle Hardened Foes is like 40%. I do want to have that in mind. And when we do talk about that, this guy is a fish. He's very bad in the short form fights, right? So that's where this guy, I think, kind of won the battle for me. Buhan, definitely, obviously another character you could fit in here. I think a lot of people would much prefer to run Buhan over him. I just feel like his restriction right now is not it. Goten and Trunks, right? Some other characters here, but just like in general, I think, I like what Agio Vegito is doing right now and how the game is shaped. When Buhan, if we get like a huge power absorption celebration, this guy could shoot up to like 7 on the list or something, right? I think it's very flexible, right? But I just wanted to point that out, and I know people are gonna skip to the end of the video, be like, oh, actually this character should be here, and then they're gonna talk about the exact same reasons why I mentioned right now, but whatever. Anyways, let's move on to our next spot. It's Fat Boo, and then we'll also bring up Super Saiyan 3 Goku. And actually, I'm gonna switch this around last minute. I had Yeah, I'm gonna switch these around. I'm gonna talk about these two together just because they're going to cure characters. I had Super Saiyan 3 Goku above Majin Buu for a second there because I used him recently. Well, I say recently, it was 2 weeks ago, but I had the video up yesterday for the Battle Hardened Foes fights, and this guy is super valuable there, right? Those fights allow him to really get a shine out. Majin Buu Saga ally in the team is, I mean, whoa, do you guys think that's hard to do? Like, let's take a look here. We have Tech Gotenks, Agel Super Vegito, this guy into Buhan, Super Saiyan 2 Physical Goku, STR Kid Buu, Tech Gotenks I brought up, right? You know, oh, this guy, Goten Trunks. Like, there's a lot of really good characters here. I mean, if you're running this guy under the Tech Vegito team, they actually work really well together. Yeah, and the thing about these short fights is that not only does he have the guard and 90% reduction in slot 1, he does have the high chance of stun. He will do, you know, he has his additional super attack, right? If we take a look here, right here, additional attack has a great chance to be a super. Then, you know, if you run him in slot 2 or slot 3, he does another guaranteed additional super right there. So you realistically could have 3 to 4 chances to stun the enemy per turn, which is really cool. This 50% chance to nullify Ki Blast super attacks and counter, I found useful in those stages as well. Leader skills already also very good, right? I think he's just a consistent tank character. He's not going to be doing crazy damage, but I do like what he's providing overall. And, you know, even turn 1, he can get past 100% damage reduction once he gets this off. Like, he's untouchable to turn 1, which I think is super valuable in those fights, right? Especially against that Jiren fight that's creating right there. That Jiren is very devastating. Even the Janemba with his defense lowering is a very devastating fight, I think, to a lot of characters. So this character will be a very consistent option for you. And again, that stun ability is super nice. Now, the reason why I have Majin Buu above him is because Majin Buu is also much more useful in longer fights. Like, even Agel Super Vegito, I would argue, is probably more useful than this guy in longer fights. Even though, like, I guess on this guy setup, right, you could have him on the Gogeta or the Vegito setup, and then you could probably be fine with this guy, right, even if you just float him off at the end of the fight. But this character is providing so much. Not only in short fights, he gives you basically 2 free turns for free whenever you want. He gives you two free turns. One, just place him in slot 1, he'll die. My dog just made a noise right now. Hold up. All right, check to my dog. I don't know. He's kind of silly. He's just sitting back there. He's okay. Anyways, what I was saying? Oh yeah, this guy will give you 2 free turns in short fights where he's going to let you. You know, again, you'll die, you'll full heal, then he comes back and he has a Ghost Usher. That's really good. In long fights, you don't even have to worry about that. He could just float him around as a stacker because he could use this Ghost Usher in turn 7 and he full heals you and he's healing each turn. You know, when his revive procs or even when an ally's revive procs, right, he's fine. He's on, like, you know, let's say in Broly's team, for example, right? Even his own, like, you can run like an extreme class Buu Saga team. And I think there's some merit to it. Like, you know, you have this guy, Buhan, you have STR Kid Buu, Tech Buhan, right? There is some stuff to it. I guess not really the best team, though. I mean, you could eventually get, like, Tech Mod Vegeta transform. If you want, you could always throw some super class characters on here as well. It's not the biggest deal. But again, Uncontrollable Power is a really good team right now for this guy. Demonic Power, really good team for this guy right now. Again, we talked about Transformation Boost, but Tech Buhan's team, like, this guy is going to be valuable in many different situations. And I just think his value will surpass what the Super Saiyan 3 Goku is doing because he's really good in short and long fights, right, at the same time. This Inbu is gonna age very well. Like, he's not gonna be as a character that will shoot up to like 5 or 6 on the list likely at this point, but I think he'll be a character that could very consistently be argued at like 7 to 10 range. Like, if you really wanted to. Like, next on my list is STR Super Gogeta. If you like this Buu over STR Super Gogeta, I don't blame you. I think STR Super Gogeta, he's a very good option. I think I find him as a nice consistent option, but again, super class enemies, which, being fair, most of the fights in the game, I think that are the hardest fights right now are super class enemies. He only has a great chance to guard, which if that doesn't proc, he could be in trouble. Now, I would say a majority of the time, I do end up getting this, right? And if he's against an extreme class enemy, he also gets extra defense, guaranteed crits, and the guaranteed guard, right? Supporting is very nice, right? The only issue I have with this guy is that he's not orb changing, rainbow orb changing, but there's tons of rainbow orb changers available for him, so I'm not really finding that to be an issue. In short content, he has this attack lure. So what happens is you put him in slot 2 or slot 3 as a floating support character in those short fights, he lowers the enemy's attack like a bunch. Like it does matter. It makes quite a big difference, right? Lowering their attack 4 times in a row. Plus the key support and the attack support will always be useful. It'll always be a nice little ability. He'll have the 30% reduction plus the guard most of the time, so I find him to be a consistent defensive character too. He's just doing what he's doing consistently, really. I mean, it's tough. I could see the argument for Int Boo above this guy. I just I find myself using this guy more probably just because of the setups he's on compared to Boo, but man, it's tough. I think, like, again, like, these range of characters are so close to each other that in certain situations, a lot of them will look better than the others. I think, like, TUR tier lists are much more competitive. And, you know, again, when we get to the actual tiered part, you guys will see what I'm talking about, I think, in a clearer way. But yeah, no, S tier Super Gogeta, I like him, right? A lot of people did not like this guy when his details came out, but I was hopeful, and yeah, I believed in him, and he did cook, so he does cook for me anyways. Next, we have S tier Kid Buu. S tier Kid Buu is, yeah, no, he's just a good character, right? He does want Majin Power Majin Buu Saga, not difficult at all. So early on, he has 70% damage reduction, which is obviously extremely good. In short fights, he not only will have that ability, but he has the stun chance, high chance of stun right there. Bam, very, very easy to get. In longer fights, maybe he'll be at a more of a disadvantage. But I would say, honestly, I don't really, like, you could run this guy in slot 1, but I don't really think he needs to fulfill that slot 1 role on his teams. Right, that he's on, like, demonic power. He doesn't really need to sit slot 1. And a lot of these, you know, uncontrollable power, I believe he's on, right? Yeah, right. He doesn't have to sit slot 1. Transformation boost, not necessarily have to fit slot 1. Like, you guys see what I mean. I think, you know, if you don't run him in slot 1, obviously he'll obviously be a lot better, right? But yeah, I mean, most of these characters here aren't technically slot 1 besides this guy anyways. This guy's like slot 1, quote unquote, but you guys get what I mean. So I don't really mind that he's not the best slot 1, but if you need to, you can throw him there, and he won't be the worst option, right? Plus, on top of that, he has just super high stats, I think is one thing. And this 20% healing at the end of each turn, I find useful too. Yeah, I feel like, again, with this character, I don't really see myself dying with him. It's kind of the thing that happens. Like, I feel like I haven't seen myself dying with this guy either, or even like in Fapu, but this character I feel more safe and comfortable with, especially in those short fights with a 70% reduction, the stun. Longer fights, he will lose 20% of this damage reduction and 100% defense, but at that point, you will at least have the active skill available. And again, if you're using this guy as like a slot 2, slot 3 character, he'll be fine in a majority of scenarios. There is the unarmed super attack counter that he could do, or it's a nullification. Not really something you'll see too often, but it may pop up here and there. If we're talking about like the hardest fights in the game, though, I think, you know, Topo, you know, I'm thinking about this guy in like the Topo Jiren fight. This guy in the final phase against Jiren, he should be more or less fine, right? I think if he gets caught with a super attack, it could hit really hard. But Jiren, or not Jiren, Topo, right, is physical, so that could help this guy quite a bit. He can kind of melt through the Topo phase for you, which I find really nice. But yeah, no, I like this S tier Kid Buu. Again, it's tough. Like, you could, if you like S tier Super Gogeta more than Kid Buu, like, you can move him up. I think that's fine. I think I like Kid Buu a little better. But next we have Daima Goku. I love Daima Goku. I mean, I was always a day one Daima Goku rider, and I think, yeah, the thing about Daima Goku is he's not only providing quite a bit to a lot of these different teams in terms of like this right here, like this on counter units is insane. Like, and we have a lot of counter units now that are available where this guy is able to be ran. Tech Super Vegito, even AGL Super Vegito, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, right? A lot of these characters benefit from this double attack raise, and even just in general, any character could really take use from this. short fights, this guy has 90% dodge turn 1, 50% damage reduction turn 1. You'll get his full passive up. You could do some pretty decent damage on his active skill, I find. Other than that, he just has 70% dodge. Still, the 30% reduction is pretty good. Like, I found this guy to be very reliable. He doesn't have any team restrictions. You just put him on any team setup you want. Which, you know, even like this guy, he wants to be facing Majin Buu, or he wants to be with Majin Buu Saga allies. This guy, he wants to be against ideally extreme class. This guy, and this guy does want Buu Saga. I don't really find that difficult. This character, you can have to maybe baby a little at times. But this character, I feel like you don't, like you just put him in slot 1 or slot 2, and he's cooking. Slot 3, you know, if he's not in slot 1 or slot 2, he's gonna lose this, and that will be very annoying. Ideally, though, you do have this guy in slot 2 if you can, right? Slot 1, he could definitely work there, but in this slot 2 environment, the amount of damage he provides, especially to these counter units, is really nasty. Obviously, a lot of good teams, pure Saiyans, you know, Chi leads transformation boost, which is nice. He's on the Super Saiyans team, Kamehameha. Like, overall, he's just incredible. I think Diamond Goku's gonna be very good, and he will be good for the time to come, right? I mean, if you take a look at his own team, it's definitely not crazy. I mean, you do have a couple of these anniversary characters on here. The LR Gods, EZA, this guy's on his 200%, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's under 200%, Super Saiyan 4 Goku's under 200%, right? You have a lot of these nice little cool characters here. You know, Tech UI Goku, if you like using Tech UI, that's another character that really benefits from this guy's multi-turn attack support, right? So yeah, no, I like this guy. I think he's good, right? Not much really to say from there. I feel like a lot of people may not have had the opportunity to use this guy because I think if people were gonna summon on the New Year's banners, they would have likely summoned for Glorio over this guy, but he will at least come back during the Golden Week celebration in April. Next here, I have a Janemba. Now, I think I like Janemba a little more than Daima Goku, but you could argue either way, I think, between these two. The thing about Janemba for me is that he has this. Ideally, he wants to be against superclass enemies, which I brought it up earlier. Superclass enemies are the majority of the difficult fights that we have right now. But he's also supporting here in this fashion, which I would find generally more valuable, the defensive support and key support rather than the multi-turn attack support. Like this guy, that attack support helps like specific characters. Well, this character is like, you know, or it really helps like every character that you have. 90% chance dodge before he attacks is huge, especially in short content. I think, you know, again, the thing with dodge units and long fights is that it'll just be more turns for them eventually to get hit. While in short fights, it's kind of like, you know, you have 2 turns, and, you know, as long as they show out on those 2 turns, you're good. But if it's like a 6, like obviously in a fight where this guy's in like 6 rotations, he's gonna be more prone to get hit in a fight with like 2 rotations, right? Does that make sense? So either way, I think, you know, even if he does get hit, he should be mostly fine. I feel like he is kind of dodge or die against supers is the only thing. I would argue Diamond Goku's in the same spot, but I find this guy to be consistent regardless. You know, most of the time he's going to be evading the super attack, especially with the full dodge build. And yeah, I think he does decent damage too. I'm not going to say crazy damage, but he does do decent stuff. I mean, I'm really thinking about moving Diamond Goku above him. I don't know. I think it's close, man. Because really what I'm talking about, I feel like Diamond Goku, he has, well, Janemba has the guard. The guard is better than the 30% reduction, but I feel like Diamond Goku's stats get higher. But also 90% dodge is all stupid. I'm sorry. I think I have to do that. So I think it's close between these two. Into Buhan, I have at 3, which, you know, might be surprising to some people that I don't have him at 2. I think Into Buhan is, I mean, we've talked about Into Buhan extensively, and everyone knows that Into Buhan is just a stupid character. Superclass enemy restriction is always going to be met up, basically, so he's going to be looking at his peak performance. I mean, even in early on fights, like some of these supreme magnificent battles, the battle hardened foes, a lot of them are extreme class enemies, but now they're all tournament of power super class enemies. So this guy is only stronger now, I think, right now, which is really funny. Even in some of these Goku story and Vegeta story red zone stages, A lot of these enemies end up being extreme class, but now they're all super class, right? Turn them into power enemies. So that's a thing. I guess, you know, we can consider the Goku Black fights, which, you know, I think the Goku Black fights are also difficult. But no, double orb changing, or yeah, he has the tech to Rainbow, but from turn 5 in long fights, he gets double orb changing, which is stupid. He heals so much. Like, post super attack, he's not taking damage. 66% reduction with the amount of defense he gets, like 2 mil defense plus. It's really stupid. On top of the damage he's doing as well, and he's guaranteed critting, basically. It's dumb. It's dumb. This guy's doing like triple 50, 60 plus mil attack stats. Yeah, what a stupid character. Amazing link set, supporting. Yeah, but I think Texel's better. And you know, this is kind of the main character about this list that I think was newly added from the last time we did it realistically. Texel, I actually had him under Buhan, but then part 3 came and I think I have him above Buhan. He's kind of just like slot 1 Buhan, I think. Doesn't hit as hard as Buhan, that's for sure. But I think he does everything else better. He tanks better. He has this little nice support, which is good, right? He has the debuff right here, which I find very useful. He is double orb changing from the start, which is also really good. I guess, you know, this, like, it's really just damage. I think Buhan's doing better. I mean, even with this guy does have a lot of healing with him, right? His defense gets super high start of turn because it's 50% attack and defense, you know, compared to this guy that only gets 30% defense right there. And obviously he does have this 200% start of turn, but, you know, depending on the amount of orbs you grab, it'll far surpass with the 50% per orb, right? Especially defensively. And again, he's creating these tech orbs at the start. I've had this guy like easily get like 13 orbs at the start of battle, and like, you know, 10 plus at the very bare minimum. This right here allows him to draw himself towards the rainbow orbs. Buhan doesn't have that. Buhan doesn't really get extra key per specific type of key sphere. But this guy getting this, like, I've had situations where the path went the wrong way and maybe I don't get Buhan's full reduction. Like, it's not a consistent thing, but it may happen sometimes. Texel doesn't really happen. If anything, I've had turns where Texel directs himself to 5 rainbow key spheres or 4 rainbow key spheres. And keep in mind, 10% reduction with each rainbow key sphere. Let's say you get the 4 rainbow keys per turn. That's 40% reduction here. 20% reduction here. That's 60%. Against a superclass enemy, that's 80% reduction. Plus a debuff. Plus he's healing. Plus he does good damage. And he's supporting defense and critical hit. And then there's orbs left around for your other characters to look good too. You put him slot 1, he's not dying. And guess what? Slot 1 is arguably the most important slot. I mean, I don't know what to tell y'all. Like, obviously all slots do matter, but you gotta be real. Being slot 1 is super useful, especially for villains, when there's way less options for villains. This guy's stupid correct. And then we have Glorio. I mean, could you argue Texel over Glorio if you really wanted to? I think you could. I just think Glorio's doing too much, man. Even in short fights, he has this greatly lower attack and defense, or it is just lowering attack and defense, my bad. But he does like 5 supers. So he's just basically doing what STR Gogeta is doing in that situation, except he also can get up to 80% chance dodge. Except he also does have this multi-turn stupid busted support on his own leader skill, which rival, like, him getting this support is arguably, like, if there is a team that's a 220% team for demonic power, but he doesn't have Glorio support or support like that, like, I don't know, maybe he gives even just like 20% stats, Glorio's team would end up being better in terms of stats still, because it's 100% floating support. Like, you guys get what I mean? It's stupid, the amount of stats this guy gives to characters. He also does really, ends up doing really good damage. If you get the active skill off in longer fights, he has the disable action once, and then he's stacking along fights. This is arguably just one of the best leader skills in the game right now, easily, right? Even if we're discounting demonic power, right? But like, let's take a look at demonic power, you know? Because you have the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, sure. Buhan, Kid Buu, Goku Ultimate Gohan, Slug, Beast Gohan, or even the Super Saiyan Gohan right there. Very good options here. We can go to Battle of Wits here. The Vegetos are on this team, which is really dumb, right? This character is actually a good character overall. Not really crazy, but Accelerated Battle. Look at Accelerated. Look at this team. AWI, Tech UI, Janemba, Super Saiyan 2 Goku, Super Saiyan 3, GG Goku, Super Janemba, this Angel Frieza right here, Gogeta's on this team, the Great Vegeta, like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, like hello? This team is stupid. Glorious team is really dumb. Glorious team is absolutely stupid. And that's another thing I kind of want to mention here. A lot of these characters are not like leader characters, right? I think, you know, Daima Goku, leader character. We have, I think these two could be considered leader characters, but not like crazy anymore. I mean, if you're running Majin Buu Saga as a team, you're probably running Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Or you could run like a variant of the team where Tech Vegeta is your leader. That's also an option. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my top 10 here in terms of the top 10 itself. Now we'll take a look at the list here. This is for Red Zone. I think this guy has more times to get caught in Red Zone, arguably. But at the same time, you could say in Red Zone, eventually he'll be able to be protected by other characters. But I don't want to necessarily count that as like a W towards him because of the fact that it's not an achievement he's doing himself, right? Super Saiyan 3 Goku's pass will eventually wear out. Janemba, Daima Goku, you know, I think Daima Goku is in a better spot than Janemba in longer fights just because he will 100% be able to get his passive up there. Kid Buu, you know, I think these guys in a similar tier seems fair to me. I mean, could you say this? I don't know. I don't think so. Just because this guy, I mean, dude, Infap, he's providing a lot of utility, but I just think what the other things these guys are also doing in terms of like just raw stats and things like that, do more. These guys are stupid. Then this is the Battle Hardened Formidable Foes. I have these two lower than the rest of these guys. I mean, because Gogeta. Could you say Gogeta? I think the reason why I can't maybe put Gogeta in Z tier is because he is facing a super class enemy in these hardest fights. But Glorio, Mega Attack lowering, Tech Cell, Slam 1 Invincible. This guy's greatly lowering attack twice whilst being really tanky. This character, 90% dodge, right? I don't think I'll say too much. This character is invincible with the stun. This character has 2 turns invincibility, 90% dodge here. Esther Kid Buu has the stun. I think maybe I'll do like this. Seems fair to me. And then I feel like this is good. Yeah, this might seem more fair to me. And as I think, you know, I mean, I'm considering Red Zone a little more. That's why, you know, you see like these characters near the lower ends. Kind of like this, and this is not really necessarily in any particular order. I guess I ended up even ordering these guys the way that they would be on the tier list anyways. But yeah, let me know what y'all think again about these 3 tier lists here. Thanks y'all for watching. Let me know if you feel like some other characters should be more deserving to fit this list. Again, we talked about it, but like, you know, Super Saiyan 2 Goku, I probably wouldn't put Tech Beerus on this list at this point. I think he's a really good character though. You could make a strong argument for Tech Beerus above Super Vegito. Slug is probably underrated, but I don't think that I would. Maybe I don't know. A lot of options here. Full Power Frieza actually has worked very well. Maybe I forgot someone. I hope I didn't, but I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.